Hi and welcome. If you have just jumped on with me, welcome to Friday Live. And today and for the next 5 Fridays, I'm going to be chatting a bit more about communication. So I've named my Friday Lives a bit of a series, so we can do a bit of a deep dive on communication for the month of April. So happy 1st of April to everybody. And thank you if you decide to join me live. So I'm sharing this. I'm just going to check in to make sure that it's actually happening now. Yep, it is, which is great. And if you have joined me live and you have some questions and things like that as we go along, pop them in. Hopefully I'll be able to see them and answer them with you. So this morning I wanted to chat, and I gave a description when I created this as an event, a little bit about talking with your young child or teenager after they've come home either from school or after they've spent a bit of time away from you. So finding out about their day. Now, the reason I've decided to start this, because it's a bit of a common thing that comes up time and time again, is wanting to find out how our kids have gone and having those conversations that end with fine, nothing, what did I get up to? Nothing. It was boring. I don't know. Things like that. So I hear people and parents talking about the difficulty of finding out what is happening in your child's world for that 6 or 8 hours or however long they're away from you, and how frustrating that can be for families. So I wanted to unpack this a little bit more and talk about some ways that we might be able to make this communication time more fruitful for both parties. So I wanted to just get you to think about for a moment about what is the purpose of finding out their day. So when they jump in the car, they've had a long day away from you, and I know the same. I'm got that urge to find out about my own kids and about how things have gone. So we're kind of thinking about, why do we want to have that conversation? Why do we want to know? So for most people, I think it's just going, well, we're curious, we want to know how their day's gone, we want to feel reconnected with them again after spending a long time away from them. You want to know whether they had a good day, whether they had some challenges. You want them to be able to bring those stories home and share them with you. Now, for some, depending upon your child, it may be very difficult for them to do that after school. So the first thing I want you to be thinking is, what are they needing also when they're reconnecting and coming home to you, or whether it's getting in the car or they've come through the door, whatever that might be. What are their needs as well after a long day? And particularly thinking about their communication style, their communication ability. How easy or how hard is it for your young person or teenager to communicate, firstly, generally speaking? So, do they have any specific challenges with expressing themselves? Do they have specific difficulties retelling stories about different things? And then think about how much communication they have been expecting to do over the course of their day or the time period that they're away, and whether that is impacting on that ability for them to be able to communicate with you at the end of the day. So how easy, how hard is it? And thinking about what that experience might have been like for them over that period of time. Because for lots of kids, they're using a whole lot of energy. And so that's the other thing that I want to talk a little bit about, is how much energy do you think your child or young person is using through their day? So I certainly know when I have a good idea of what my child has been doing, that there's a lot of energy that is being used, whether it's managing their own behavior, whether it's doing a whole lot of conversation and talking in class or in the yard. It's physically spending time running around or moving around or thinking about things, whether it's doing schoolwork. So it's a long period of time, and there are a lot of things that makes drains on our kids' energy while they're at school. For a lot of our neurodivergent kids, they might also be doing extra hard work managing, whether it's stims that they might be suppressing, whether it's having to put away their ideas that they have because they have to follow the classroom or the teacher's agenda, and how much energy that might take. It might be socializing and communicating in a way that maybe isn't their natural style or maybe isn't their preferred style, and having to do that for longer periods of time. So we can see that coming home at the end of the day, how much energy they might have been using, and when they get into the car or they get into home, what those energy levels are like, and whether they've got that capacity to continue conversing and then retelling about what their day has been like, or giving you some information about that. So just be thinking about what that's like for your child. Some children find it more easy to come home and they're full of a story they want to share, or whether it's a challenge that they've had. But for lots of kids, I know that can be really difficult to do. It doesn't mean that there hasn't been something important that they might need parents' help with or might need some support with, but having the energy to actually communicate that may just not be where they're at when they first greet you. So it can be about timing as well. So it's not that we don't want to ask questions or have a way of finding out about our kids' lives. It could be about the timing of that. That very first greeting might not be the time to be asking some of those questions, or may not be welcoming them to debrief with you. So it's again thinking about what their energy's like, stepping into their shoes for a moment and saying, do they have the capacity to do that? Or is my curiosity and my willingness and my eagerness to find out how they have gone, do I have to just put that aside for the moment, because I need to be thinking about what does my child need right in this moment? What can make it easier for some families is to be thinking about, sometimes when we ask questions, we might be saying things like, how was your day? Or tell me a cool thing about it. Or what did you get up to? Really broad kind of questions, which is great if you've got kids who just go, great, I want to tell you about this thing that's popped into my head. But for other kids, there's not enough structure around that. And you also, if you get nothing back from that, if you get a nothing or I don't know, or I can't remember, you've got nowhere else to go. So what can be really helpful is having a very good mental map of what your child's day looks like. And sometimes if you've got high schoolers, then you've got a timetable that you can have a look at least and go, oh no, you had maths today. How did that test go? Or I know you had this subject kind of thing, which you weren't maybe looking forward to. Did you get through it okay? So that can be helpful. Same with primary schools though, getting some information from your teacher about what's the gentle timetable that they're following, so that you've got specific things that you can ask, saying, I know you had this excursion today, or I know you had library, did you get some new books? Whatever it might be. So you might be able to find something more specific if you have a map of what your child has been doing during the day, then you can ask more specific questions. The other thing is if this is a real challenge for your child in terms of answering these questions, being able to reflect on what has happened through the day and then make a summary of that for you, then perhaps communicating more directly with the class teacher might be a way that you're going to be kept up to speed with some of the ups and downs that have been going, especially if there has been challenges at school, whether in the yard or whether in the classroom. Keeping a really close relationship with school, with their aide, with whoever it might be, so that you've got an idea, that so you don't have to ask all these questions of them and maybe unwittingly stress your child out more when what they need is calm and regulation when they get home. So thinking about other ways to get that information, so that the communication for you and your child is not going to be a trigger for more stress for them, because you really want that transition home to be one where they're getting to recharge their batteries, where you're getting closeness and connection, rather than it being a trigger for a more stressful kind of conversation. So that's another thing to be thinking about. The other thing, like I said, is the timing of it. So sometimes kids, when they get in the car, they don't need to be talking at all. They can't communicate. They just want to be nonverbal for a while. Perhaps you have some resources in the car. Perhaps you have some toys or a favorite bit of food that they can just kind of deep dive into and really get themselves feeling calm and settled again. Some kids just cannot do that chit chat and that debrief straight away. And again, that's understanding your own child's needs, their own energy levels that they've been expending, and about jumping into their shoes a little bit and using our grown-up empathy skills, thinking about what's important for them in this moment. Another idea which we've chatted about with some other families and things is thinking about finding some non-verbal ways to communicate. So again, for some people, using verbal language is a challenge anyway. So I've created, and there's some links, and I'll put the link on this video as well, a bit of a tool that might be something that you could introduce as being useful for your child or teenager. The cards that I've created, they're called just check-in cards, are probably more suitable to a primary school age, and the pictures on them are primary school kind of relevant. But you could create some similar to this for teenagers if that was useful, or if that's something that you think could be useful. I've got like a one-page summary that you could introduce to your child so that it's a non-verbal check-in as well. And what I mean by that, it's just using visuals and as a way to let them know that you're keen to find out how their day's gone, keen to know how they're feeling at this moment too, and also keen to know what do they need next. So when they get home, what kind of space do they need? Do they need food? Do they need relaxation? Do they need movement? Do they need noise? Do they need silence? Do they need the dark? Whatever it might be. So certainly transitioning home from big days out, whether it's at school or some other kind of activity, you're going to need to be thinking about how's my young person's regulation going? How are their energy levels going? And what do they need to recharge? Is that communication? Is that not communication? But sometimes just finding out the answers to that can be really difficult, so you can't ask them necessarily. So I've just created some cards that you could give to your child, whether it's in the car or whether it's when they get home, and ask them to select it, kind of thing. So there's kind of already constructed answers that they can just choose and let you know, so they don't have to then go, I'm feeling like this, or I'm feeling blah, or I'm too tired, kind of thing. They can actually pick a card that says tired, exhausted, need food, need not to talk, done. And that, I think, can really, again, you have a much better picture of how your child is feeling and what they need, so then you can provide that, and also for your young person to feel like they're understood. And communication is all about that, us understanding each other's experiences and feeling like when we are communicating, it's understood, and feeling like we can understand when our child is communicating. Because other times, of course, we have behaviour and we communicate through behaviour, and certainly young children will communicate through behaviour. And I suppose we can be really tuned into that and be really observant of that. But sometimes it can be helpful to use tools to kind of build that communication along kind of thing. So visuals are a really useful way of doing that. And if that's something that you've never tried before, or if it's something that you think could be useful to introduce, then please grab the copy that I've made, or use that to inspire you to make something either more simple or more complex, depending on the age and the needs of your child. So the other thing that can be useful, particularly thinking about older children and teenagers, is using the idea of technology, whether it's text messages, whether it's emails, other nonverbal communication, to check in with your child. So if you know that with your teenager, for example, or your tween, they come home from school, they're not really ready to talk, they're not ready to debrief, it doesn't mean that we don't want to have those conversations. We don't want to find out. We don't want to, step into our kids' world, because of course we do, and we want that to be expressed too, so that they know that we care, and so that we can, meet challenges together and things like that. So thinking about using the technology that they're already using to communicate perhaps with their peers, and seeing if you can engage with that as well. So sending them a text message, sending them some funny emojis or a joke for the day, in a way that just says, I'm here. And some young people find this a really nice way to have some conversations. The other kind of way that can be useful too is a bit of a check-in kind of diary, whether it's just a book, just a journal, whatever it might be. You write a little message, leave it on their bed, so when they get home, perhaps at the end of the day, it's there on their bed saying, hey, lovely to have you home again. I hope you had a good day, or if there's any challenges or anything that came, please write me a note back if you want to. And so you can kind of have this back and forth kind of going, scribbled in notes, and they can drop it back on your bed if need be, or things like that. So creating little rituals, creating little ways to invite them to communicate with you. And so, yeah, using a mode, using means, not just sort of going, oh, my child won't talk to me, or my child is just gives me two-word answers and that's the end of it. So thinking flexibly about how else can we encourage communication, how else can we let them know that we care about what's happening in their day, and want to help them regulate from that, want to help them kind of debrief from that if need be. And again, some people just need extra time as well. So I know lots of kids might take time. There might have been an event, might have been something that has happened, but it might not come out unless it's in drips and drabs over a longer period of time. And that might be your child or young person's style. So that can happen as well. And just being really empathic to any communication challenges that might exist, and sort of saying, yeah, this must be really tough to, want to be able to express all the words and express all the things, but not being able to do that. So that's just it's not a plane taking off there, it's just my washing machine making a big racket, if you can hear that through the video. So thinking again about some of the challenges that might come up, energy levels, what do they need when they get home, reflecting and empathizing that retelling, storytelling can be difficult. For some young people, just getting that chronological order can be really tricky. Sometimes kids drop facts and drop ideas, and then it really takes a keen and patient listener to unpack that and find out the chronological order that things happened in, because often kids will retell a story all out of order. And so you need to use lots of patience and lots of empathy to kind of put that back together in terms of, this happened, then that happened, then that happened, or using even drawings to draw out what happened in a cartoon kind of format, I find can be kind of useful too. But they're true difficulties that some young people will have with the communication. So being mindful of that, being aware that that's something that might happen, that might be happening to you guys when you're trying to find out about your child's day. So the other thing is thinking again about, our kids' energy levels, if they're kind of a bit depleted at the end of the day, really thinking about being empathic to that, being empathic that they're going to be having more challenges regulating themselves when their energy is low. We know ourselves how difficult that is. So really thinking about doing lots of empathy, lots of really good listening when they come home. And if there has been events or there has been challenges, really make sure we've been done the listening and the empathizing first, before we jump into any problem solving, because sometimes problem solving is not what they need from us. So just take your time with that, and make sure that we sit long enough so that they really feel heard, and then see if we need to do any problem solving with them together. So that's just a few thoughts that I have on checking in with your young person after school or after they've been away from us for a long period of time. And yeah, if you've got any questions at all, I can't see at the moment that any questions have jumped up. But if you do, if you listen to this later, just do hashtag replay in the comments and pop your question in, and I will jump back over the week and do my best to answer them. And next Friday, I'm going to be doing another one of these, but with a slightly different topic, thinking about communication. I think I said for all the Fridays in April that I'll be doing it. When it gets to the school holidays, I might be changing the time of that slightly, because I'll be running groups at the side-by-side practice. So the 10 o'clock time isn't going to work, because I'll be in the middle of providing that, but I'll still be able to do it. I might make it earlier in the morning. So if you can join me live, that is great. And if not, that's okay too. I'm sure you'll be able to catch it later. So wherever you are, I hope you have a wonderful 1st of April and a really great Friday. And I will talk to you all again next Friday. Take care.